Welcome to tonight's panel discussion on the swastika in American, Jewish, and Asian cultures. My name is Cheryl Fishbein, and I serve as president of the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York. On behalf of our agency and our CEO, Rabbi Michael Miller, I'd like to thank the South Asian American Voice, led by the incredible Rhonda Binda, for their partnership in planning tonight's event. I'd also like to thank our numerous co-sponsors for joining us tonight and spreading the word of this event. The Buddhist Council of New York, Communities United for Respect and Trust, Congregation Habonim, Helwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York, the Hindu American Foundation, the Holocaust Genocide and Interfaith Education Center, the Interfaith Assembly on Homelessness and Housing, the Mika Institute, the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust, Project Hospitality, Sadhana, Coalition of Progressive Hindus, Staten Island Interreligious Leadership, Tannenbaum Center for Interreligious Understanding, and the Young Leadership Associates of the American Society of Yad Vashem. Last summer, a bill was introduced in the New York State Legislature to teach our public school students that the swastika is a symbol of hate. Recognizing the increasing anti-Semitism around them, some Jewish legislators and groups supported this bill, but were rather unexpectedly met with opposition from Hindu and other Asian groups and communities who understood the symbol as one of spirituality and divinity. At that time, the JCRC of New York encouraged our elected officials to meet with Hindu leaders to ensure that the language used in the bill would also reflect the history of the Hindu swastika. While the legislation was ultimately tabled, this difference of opinion is what brings us together now. Tonight's event is not a debate, but it is rather a discussion. Most importantly, it is an opportunity to listen and to learn from one another. Symbols can have multiple meanings depending on the context in which they are used, and they can mean different things to different people. Throughout this discussion, we encourage you to listen carefully to our expert panelists and come away with a broader understanding of the issues at play and a greater cultural competency. We also recognize that tonight is Kristallnacht, a German word meaning the night of broken glass. It was on this night in 1938 where Nazi forces wearing swastikas led the first state-sponsored pogrom, an attack against Jewish citizens, homes, synagogues, and businesses in Germany. Indeed, the night's name, Crystal Night, refers to the broken glass that littered the streets after the destruction. On that night, at least 91 Jews were murdered, and 30,000 Jewish men were arrested and placed in concentration camps. Historians view Kristallnacht as a prelude to the final solution and the murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. All of this took place under the banner of Hitler's swastika. As the daughter of Holocaust survivors who lost many members of her family during the Holocaust, I know the terrible pain that this symbol and what it represents has brought to my family and to my community. It is my honor to now welcome Rabbi Lisa Gelber from Congregation Habonim, who will lead us in an interfaith prayer. Congregation Habonim was founded in November 1939, exactly 1 year after Kristallnacht took place. And it was a place for German refugees where they could come and pray in a familiar German style. Habonim has expanded into an intergenerational neighborhood synagogue that honors the past and continues to build for the future. Rabbi Gelber, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Cheryl, and to everyone for being here. Let us pray. To the divine who holds our humanity, grant us the patience to be with one another in our difference and the complexity of our being. May we have the will to ground ourselves from within and dwell for these moments with each other. Open our hearts so that we may listen carefully to the authentic story of one another, welcoming pain and passion, fire and fragility. Let us come to appreciate on this 82nd anniversary of Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, the power of fear to paralyze and diminish not just the individual created in the image of the divine, but the entire enterprise of humanity. Grant us strength to follow the instruction of Pema Chodron's teacher and put the fearful mind in the cradle of loving kindness. So may we find the way to listen acutely with our entire being to the clear and to the nuance, the past and the present, the pain and the potential. For in the end, our work is the same: to live with compassion, to fight racism, bigotry, xenophobia, and anti-Semitism, to care for women and children, to protect the poor and the underserved, to bring justice and healing to a fractured world. May the words that are yet to be spoken invite us to forge a path within our difference with honesty, integrity, hope, and compassion. So may it be, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi, for that inspirational prayer, and to Congregation Habonim for co-sponsoring this program. It is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening. Rhonda Binda is the chairwoman of South Asian American Voice, building bridges to empower the next generation of South Asian and Indo-Caribbean Americans. She is a former U.S. Senate, State Department, and West Wing staffer, and she is partner of the law firm Binda and Binda, PLLC. Rhonda serves on the National Council for APAC and is an adjunct professor at the City University of New York's Medgar Evers College. She is also an alumnus of JCRC New York's Emerging Community Leaders Fellowship and participated in a JCRC New York mission to Israel in August of 2018. Rhonda, thank you and SAW Voice for your partnership. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cheryl and JCRC New York, for your partnership with SAW Voice on this important issue. Following what Cheryl described earlier as to how the swastika was misappropriated and used by the Nazis, I'd like to briefly share some of the history about the symbol itself. The swastika is a Sanskrit term, and the use of it dates back to at least 13,000 BCE in Ukraine. It has been extensively in the use of Indo-Saraswati civilization, with archaeological evidence dating back to 4000 BCE. Many link the use of the swastika to the beginning of our Earth and the solar system. It's believed that the universe was formed due to a massive explosion, scattering of energy in all directions, which is commonly known as the Big Bang. The symbol was created to symbolize the sun, as it was the source of energy for all planets and life that existed on Earth. In Hinduism, it is also one of the symbols used for Lord Vishnu, who protects, sustains, and preserves all life on Earth. So swastika is also regarded as a symbol of life and preservation. It's associated with well-being, good luck, abundance, and prosperity. The symbol also represents the sun god, which is responsible for good crops and food production. Buddhists also regard the swastika as a symbol of good fortune, prosperity, and abundance. The The swastika is directly related to Buddha and is carved on the statues of Buddha on the soles of his feet and on his heart. For Jains, its arm symbolizes the 4 places that a soul can be reborn in the cycle of birth and death. To sum up, the swastika has an extensive history before it was misappropriated by the Nazi regime. But tonight, we're asking ourselves this question: can the symbol be redeemed? For some answers to this question, we now welcome our expert panelists this evening. Mr. Stephen Heller is the co-chair of the School of Visual Arts MFA Design Program, writer and critic on design. He's authored and edited over 200 books on design and political graphics. He served as senior art editor at the New York Times for 33 years and recently published a book entitled The Swastika and Symbols of Hate. Ravi Vidyanath Sivacharyar is Director of Religious Affairs at the Hindu Temple Society of North America in Flushing, New York. Hailing from a hereditary priest lineage from southern India, he's a spiritual leader and scholar in Veda Agama Sastra and Savya Siddhanta. He represents the board of the Flushing Interfaith Council and is an expert in manuscriptology and paleography. He's also a pranic healer too. He holds degrees in physics, electrical and telecommunications engineering, and in business and industrial management. Reverend Dr. T.K. Nakagaki is a Buddhist priest ordained in the 750-year-old Jodo Shinshu tradition of Japanese Buddhism. He's president and founder of the Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York. He's executive director and former president of the Buddhist Council of New York and honorable board member of the Interfaith Center of New York and New York City Police Department clergy liaison. He's also the author of The Buddhist Swastika and Hitler's Cross. Thank you all very much for joining this important discussion. To our audience for the evening, please submit your questions via the Q&A function on your Zoom screen, and we'll do our best to get to them in the Q&A section following the presentations by our expert panelists. And now we'll begin with our first panelist, Mr. Stephen Heller.
Good evening. Thank you very much. When I see this sign, what do I feel? I feel fear. And I feel hate. I had written a book a number of years ago called The Swastika Symbol Beyond Redemption. The question mark is there because I felt there was a question. The swastika, like many symbols, has meanings that go beyond its originality. And the swastika for me had a great deal of meaning as I was growing up as a young Jewish kid in New York. As a graphic designer, I work with symbols, logos, brands all the time. And what those brands are meant to do is to instill certain ideas in one's brain. After Charlottesville and the election of our soon-to-be-gone president, I felt that the swastika had once again taken on its co-opted, stolen, pilfered meaning, and it became again another symbol of hate, along with others. Others that reflected the swastika, although didn't actually copy its form, that had the same power as the swastika, came from German symbology, like the Wolfsangel here, and introduced new symbology, like that of the Proud Boys and other right-wing, ultra-extremist, anti-Semitic, anti-Black, anti-period organizations in the United States. Okay. Well, anyway, I won't go back and waste people's time, but these are some of the other symbols of hate that have grown up around the white supremacist movement, including the Ku Klux Klan, where Crosses are used all the time. I'm quite aware that the swastika has many different origins and many different forms and mean many different things to many different peoples. Mostly innocent, mostly peaceful, mostly loving. This page of swastikas actually comes from a book that was published during the Third Reich. Many of the Nazi symbols were taken from the runic alphabet. Although the swastika is arguably not part of the runic alphabet, but by the Nazis was made an exceptional member. Many of these symbols represent aspects of the Nazi regime, including the Wolfshangle, the Opfer rune, and the Odel rune. This was a piece of a handout that was given to US soldiers who were entering the European and Pacific theaters during World War II to show that not all images that represented the Nazis were indeed Nazi. The swastika was used as a symbol for many non-political and apolitical groups, including the Girls Club in the United States, which issued a swastika magazine and badge for those girls who earned a number of points selling magazine subscriptions. Swastika was also used as the end seal for the Pacific Baking Corporation. And if a child collected a number of these, they would be able to win prizes, including this American Biscuit Company car. There was also such a product as swastika biscuits. This symbol was never trademarked. It's owned by anyone, and anyone can use it. So you'll find it on many products. You'll also find it used in the American Army Air Force, the Thunderbird division of the American Army that went over to Europe during World War I. And Rudyard Kipling used a version of the swastika or savstika as his personal logo, which adorned most of his books, and he relinquished after 1933. Here, the swastika is used as an incidental logo. Fresh is the trademark, and that's what registered in Washington in the trademark volumes where these things are recorded. But the swastika was used as a symbol of luck and fortune. Here, the swastika, savstika, again, is used in a very innocent way. This is the Corn Palace in South Dakota. All of those arabesques were made from ears of corn. And sadly, the building in all its splendor and glory caught fire, some think because of the corn itself and the methane that came out of the dried substance. I became interested in how the Nazis came to claim and then own the Hakenkreuz, hooked cross, or swastika. It started way before Hitler at the turn of the century, and then eked its way into the 20th century and found its voice after the defeat in World War I. The Thule Gesellschaft was one of the cultist organizations that grew up of nationalist and anti-Semitic groups that blamed Jews and others for the defeat in World War I, which they claim was not a defeat at all. So it was a society based on cultish aspirations. During the Third Reich, there were a number of books that were published on the history of the hooked cross, in this case, 5,000 years of it, and how it relates to Germany in particular, and to Aryanism, which was claimed to be a German trait. But in the ABCs of National Socialism, the swastika is codified by Adolf Hitler, who talks about it quite semi-articulately in Mein Kampf, and adopts it in its form, as you see here, on a slant, kind of like a propeller that revs round and round as the symbol for the National Socialist German Workers' Party. It was applied to virtually everything in the same way the Coca-Cola brand or the GE brand or any number of American and European corporate brands were applied to their own products. There were rules, there were standards, there were regulations. In the case of Nazi Germany, no one was to use the swastika or the hooked cross as a commercial element, only in the political sense and later in the national sense. So it became the substitute for Adolf Hitler. Hitler claims to have designed it in its current form with the red field, the white circle, and the black cross. And posters that were made during that period to recruit members into the SA and the SS and the Hitler Youth all used the flag. It was also a perfect object for satire. This is Boris Artzybashev, who was an American immigrant who was one of the leading cartoonist illustrators in the United States during the 30s and 40s, and did this page for Life magazine, where the swastika this is one of many opportunities he had to transform the swastika into symbols of violence and symbols of racism and hatred and horror. This was the swastika used in the United States. There were 3 million members of the German-American Bund in the US. And this is at a camp in Long Island, in Yaphank, Long Island, called Camp Siegfried, where young Hitler followers and their parents would come for the summer to be indoctrinated, brainwashed. There were many groups that arose at that time that had different agendas, but all were anti-Semitic, anti-Black, some anti-Catholic. And this was one that I had never heard of until I started researching my last book, The White Man's Party, the American Guard. This, however, I did hear of as a kid because there were marches in Upper Manhattan of white power followers. And I saw a few of them, to my fear. And this was a sticker that I found a few years ago, just near my home, plastered on a wall. Today, there are at least 90, if not more, white supremacist parties, some using the swastika, some using the cross, some using the hooked cross. Many combining the swastika with the American flag. This is called the National Socialist Movement of the USA. And even though the KKK has pretty much renounced their fabled and frightening hoods for street clothes and polo shirts and camouflage wear, this image of hate in America still is emblazoned on the retina. And so as long as there is this, torchlight marches where demonstrators say, we will replace you, torchlight marches that announce that there is a white society and another society, and one is superior to the other. And as long as there's this kind of desecration that goes on in Europe and the United States, and not infrequently, then I still believe, and believe even more than I did before, that at least in the United States, at least in Western Europe, the swastika is not redeemable and should be maintained as a symbol that respects the people who were lost in racial and racist struggles from the Holocaust on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. We'll now hear from our second panelist, Ravi Vedyanat Sivacharya.
Namaste. Thanks, Rhonda. Thanks for Stephen, who had also given good information about swastika. From my side, I would like to also make a small presentation. I hope all are able to see now. Okay. See, swastika in Hindu culture. I wish to share a few of my findings in the Hindu faith for an enhanced awareness, for consideration on the usage of swastika as a name and as a sign or symbol. So I'm going to talk about both swastika as a name and also swastika as a symbol. I tried analyzing the word swastika in phonetically or grammatically and breaking the word into various matrix, permutation and combination to find its real inner meaning. I did literally an anatomy of this swastika word. And of course, I did follow the scriptural rules, which are also examined, and I'm going to explain that also here. So, as per my finding, the swastika is actually derived from the ancient Sanskrit literature. So I just tell you how the swastika word, what are the different phonetically, what are the different sound involved in swastika and what are the meaning. Sanskrit has got a beautiful this thing that you can find a meaning for alphabet by alphabet or by sound, multiple sounds that are used in a word and things like that. So the first sound that we will be able to see is the sound su. Su means it is in Sanskrit grammar, it is a prefix added to represent goodness, wellness, and auspiciousness. It is, to give an example, putra means son in Sanskrit. Suputra means a good son. Similarly, sukritam. Kritam means a good act or a virtuous act. So basically it's an act, but sukritam means it's a good act. It is similar to how we say, oh, so good of you, so nice of you. The so is how we add. Similarly, the su is word added in Sanskrit. The second sound that I could see is as. As is it is to be in the present thing. To be, it is to be. And then another sound you will get from swastika is asti. Asti is again it is. It is like I own a property in a place. So that means I'm owning it. It is my property. It is mine. It is my computer. It is like it is. So there the as sound is used. Now there is another phonetically you can see asti. Asti is again in the present form it is. When you start any verse or any sentence, in the beginning you will always start with asti and end with astu. I'm going to quote one or two Sanskrit verses which is going to have this. It is similar to at the end when we say astu. It is like amen. How we say amen. So like that, it's so be it. Tatastu. I'll say astu on the end and asti to begin with good. Another sound that you will have in swastika is swa. Swa means it's one's own or self, myself, of me. To give an example, I can say karma. Karma means it's an act. Swa karma means my own act. Similarly, swabhava. Bhava means nature, my nature, nature of me. That is called as swabhava. So swa is always used to represent or prefixed to say the oneness. Now, next sound you will have in the swastika is swasti. in an adverbial or in a particle way, with this, it is used in the sense of blessing, like may it be well, may one succeed. I'm going to tell one or two verses, Sanskrit verses, how this swasti word is giving a good meaning. It is basically to invoke divinity. This swasti is the word used. Then swastika as a whole sound, it is a word, it is also a symbol. The word represents an auspicious thing, any auspicious thing. It is also conducive to well-being. But that is about the word. But if you look at it as a symbol, it is a symbol which is an intersection of any straight line, multiple lines at 90 degrees each. I'm going to explain that also, how symbolically swastika has derived from Sanskrit and how the word has been derived from the Sanskrit. So this word swasti, or you say su or asti or astu, anything, a part of swasti, comes in Vedic text, which is the utmost religious text in Hinduism. It also appears in several places in classical literatures, and it means healthy, luck, success, prosperity. It is commonly used in greetings also. Now, just I'm going to chant 2 or 3 verses, very, very ancient verses, which is more than several thousands of years, which starts with, I told you, like asti, and then end with astu. And this is called a swasti vachana. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena marghena mahim mahishaha gobrahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam lokas samastas sukhino bhavantu. It says, let everyone in the whole world be peace. It starts with swasti. And then tathastu. The entire people say tathastu, means it's like how you say amen. So asti ends with astu. Another mantra I'll just tell you, which is again used while we invoke divine blessings. Swasti mantrartha satya sapala swantiti bhavanto mahanto anuhrannanto tathastu. So both end, beginning asti, swasti, ending with astu. So this is also to bless people. So like that, if you say another Upaveda in one of the Upanishads, line by line you will find the swasti word is used. I'll just chant 2 lines for you. Swastina Indro Vrdhasravaha, Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha, Swastina Starksho Arishthanemihi, Swastino Brihaspatir Dadhatu, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So here also, line by line, you will find swasti. So swasti is used, the word is used everywhere in most of the religious texts to represent prosperity, well-being, good, all positiveness. Now coming to the symbol. Now, Hindu believes, any Hindu believes in expressing the religious and philosophical aspects and ideas through a visual or artistic image or sign or symbol, through drawings, through pictures, through an object like that. Even today, all of us, we express various worldly things through signs and symbols everywhere across the world. And swastika is just one among many religious symbols. It is not the only symbol, it is one among the many symbols we use in Hindu culture, which is mostly used in ceremonial events, and it is used as a symbol for good fortune and peace. Now I'm going to show you very few pictures of in religious and in other places how it is used. This is an ancient picture which talk about Ashtamangala. Ashtamangala means 8 auspicious things. Just see one of the 8 who is there. I have circled in red color everywhere in few of my pictures. Swastika applies. It is one of the auspicious things. Now there is like 8 objects like Ashtamangala. There is also 16 good object, lucky object, in which you see the swastika occupies the top position there. And not only in religious rituals, even in a home of agriculturists, a business people, a kingdom, in palace, in temple, everywhere it is being used. This is basically used in temples. You can see out of 8 auspicious things, swastika is one of the important things. Then when it is used by agriculturists and business entities, they also use, this is a Ashtamangala, 8 auspicious objects for them. Then you can see the Deva Kanyas, they carry during ceremonial thing, you just see what they carry in their hand. One is carrying a triangular object, another person, the second one handling, who is called as, there are names of Sumukhi, Sundari, Kamuki, Kamavardhini, like. See the second person carrying a swastika, considering it to be an auspicious object. The third one is the Shanku conch. The fourth one is carrying a lamp. These are all very sacred material. And coming to religious rituals, some of the rituals, when they draw the snake, it just sees what is there in the center. In the center, you will see swastika sign. And this is another thing where in an altar, where it can be called as Deva Snapana Chakra or Vidhana or a Vedika, like that, where a lot of auspicious materials are placed, and it tells which direction and which material to be kept in north, south, east, west, and things like that. And coming to yoga and meditation. So far I've been talking about, now see about yoga and meditation. There is one of the important asana used in yoga is Swastika Asana. Of course, I will not spend much time in reading the sloka for you. I'm going to show you by picture. Now, if a male does it, how a Swastika Asana has to be done. So this is an asana where legs are placed across each other in a particular shape. This is for a male member. How he stretch the legs and then spread it and then fold one after the other, keep under. So this is the earlier one is explaining that. Okay, I'm just explaining it in pictorial. Now, what about if a woman has to do swastika? You can see there are different swastika sign. How a woman does a swastika asana it is. Now, not only in a sitting position, even in a standing position, in the yoga and meditation, there is a Swastika Asana is taught to people. You can see I have rounded it in red. That is called as Swastika Asana in a standing posture. Now, coming to construction, engineering, ancient building technology, where you would have seen thousands of years back, a lot of huge temples and palaces were built using swastika as a rule. Of course, I can show you, if time permits, I can show you the textbooks. It runs into thousands of pages, and especially chapter 41 is called the Swastika Vidhi, which gives the directions for the construction of swastika type of buildings. These buildings are used both exterior and interior. It talks about, it guides us as to how do you build a building based on the swastika technology. And it says there are different kind. One is superior type of swastika, which are built for used to construct palace, kingdoms, and temples. And if you look at amenities and facilities and government offices, how it has to be constructed, which is called as a moderate swastika, and you have a lower swastika. Lower swastika does not mean inferior. It is the rule, the standard rule in swastika rule is only a kingdom, the palace and the temple can be in a massive structure. That's why you find huge towers in temple and huge palaces. Then the dwelling units will be the smallest in a place. So it talks about town planning, building, construction, industries. This is again one of the ancient thing. Then, of course, this comes under the Srimad Kamika Agama Purva Bhaga. I can just click and show you also that book. See, this is the thing. It runs into 1170, which is only part 1. There are 5 parts. Okay, so like that, it keeps going. And there is another text, age-old text called Srimad Kashyapa Shilpa Shastra. This talks about the Shilpa Shastra inside the building. Within the building, how do you construct rooms and various things, and in temples, how do you construct shrines? It talks about, this is also called a swastika, I just rounded it off. It talks about how the center part, the square portion have to be, it talks about the complete unit of measure, how length, breadth, height and width, every minor point is discussed in this ancient construction type. Let me come show you some of the interiors also. You see how doors and windows everywhere. Of course, I'll not spend much time because already Stephen has shown several pictures. Okay, so everywhere you will find this. Now, next coming to another tradition and customs. In customs and tradition, how the swastika is used by Hindus. There is something called as kolam or rangoli. This is basically it is a geometrical line drawing which done through a curved loop using a dotted grid patterns, and it is drawn every day morning in front of houses. Every day morning using rice flour. Okay, it's a food item. Okay, rice flour is used, and especially during festivals, natural or synthetic color powders are used. And every Hindu believes that it is a sign of inviting goddess of prosperity and wealth. And these rice powders, it's not only just the Rangoli kolam, it is also to talk about how Hindus give tribute to the harmonious coexistence of all living entities. Even even the smallest creature will come and eat it. Birds will come and eat it. Morning they draw the kolam, evening it will get vanished because it is not cleaned up. It is eaten away by all the other creatures. So such is the importance given by thing. Now I'll show you some of the kolam. You just see how swastika is also drawn. There are several designs and drawing of Rangoli. Swastika is very popular, and especially on special events, they do it. You can see it is being drawn in front of houses every day, all through the year. And during festival and events, color powders are used, and you can see in the center swastika, and we can they decorate it using flowers. Now coming to another tradition and customs. Most of you must have heard about the herbal dye. Okay, if I tell you like a tattoo, everyone will understand. We don't use any ink like our dye. We use a medicinal herbal dye, which is called as Mardani or Mehanti. Okay, where it is, it's also more than 5,000-year-old tradition and customs followed in Hindu faith. And this medicinal herbal item is also said to relieve stress, and it is applied by everyone, even during any events. And just see, this was just, I took a photograph just a fortnight back. We celebrated Navratri, and then you just see in the palm, they have drawn swastika. Of course, it will get vanished after a month, it will get vanished. And of course, there are professionals who do it using a template and help us in presenting it in a different way and like this. So I can keep on showing you a lot of such thing. But last and least, before we go for next session, I'll like to pinpoint. We all celebrated, we all witnessed democratic process. All of us casted our vote in the last few days. And if you look at even such election process in those days, prior to, even in India, prior to the electronic voting system, only the manual ballot paper systems were prevailed. In the manual ballot paper system, everyone will go and cast the vote by using a stamp. They stamp against or put an impression or print against the choice of the candidate. You just see the sign on symbol, what the stamp says here. It's a swastika symbol. So not only in tradition, literature, and in customs, rituals, everywhere you see this. Of course, I'm ready to answer any questions during Q&A. I will like to give it back to Rhonda for the next thing. Thank you for all. Namo Namaha, Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you. That was very enlightening, Ravi. We'll now hear from our third and final panelist, TK Nakagaki. Thank you, Doctor.
Hello, good morning. Good evening. I'm sorry. I'm in Japan actually today. So this is well, first of all, yeah, since I'm in Japan, maybe this is one of the place that one of the oldest temple in Nagano prefecture, Zenkoji. And so it's the symbol you see. So for Japanese people, first of all, this swastika really means symbol. Meaning temple, Buddhist temple. Because on a map, you go to Japan, all of the place, and then this is a map symbol of the swastika as a Buddhist temple. And then, of course, the Buddhist temple that came from the auspiciousness of Buddha's natures, like those. But then since today we don't have much of time, I just wanted to begin with a little bit different work. Yeah, so this is one of the book that I wrote. And this is basically the dissertation based upon the, when I was at the New York Theological Seminary. And so I just, because I wanted to have a discussion on swastika, but there are so many areas that we can't cover it. But a lot of parts are very, very important. So that's why I decided to write it. Then I can talk about it. Otherwise, I will be misunderstood. So I hope, but before we have any further discussion, because the Western country here, or United States or Europe, most of the place when I visit, even like this project started year 2010. And so at that time I went to Europe, but there's no explanation of swastika of Asia. And then even the swastika, the word swastika is a Sanskrit, and then Hitler never used that word either. He always said Hakenkreuz, which is a hooked cross. So and then most of the people do not see the cross. This is a cross sign. It's not the swastika, actually. So if you call it, if you wanted to call it swastika, but you should call it at least a dwastika from the linguistic view, because S means good. If you say do, devil, and so forth, then you have to call it dwastika. So actually the Hitler or other, what do you call it, the hate crime, hate group is using is a dwastika. It's not really swastika at all. So linguistically, that's wrong, actually. If you say swastika, it should be the good meaning. So that's but anyway, so my background, the master degree was a linguistics. So that's why I just do the comparison of the translation. Here originally, the first translation in English is the swastika or hooked cross was translated as like a hooked cross. Sorry, Hakenkreuz was translated as a hooked cross. And then when we go to the second editions and everything, like I'm talking Mein Kampf, then everything becomes a swastika, even newspaper. Originally, there's a word, Hakenkreuz was English language in a dictionary. And then somehow swastika taken over. I don't know why. Do they want to hide cross? I don't know. Of course, there are more speculation. Why do they translate that way? The Sanskrit word swastika is a Sanskrit word. Hitler don't want to use a Sanskrit term, of course. And then American people using now, not even knowing that what it means. And then there's a lot of ignorance about this symbol, because one of the problem is this symbol is a taboo. You can't talk about, you shouldn't talk about it, you shouldn't touch it even. Therefore, there's so many messing up information. So that's why people say, this is a hate symbol, so we should abandon. Whoever used this symbol is an evil person. But where does it come from? Because of the education that you have in this country, or West and East. Not the East, West. So all the education never teach what this really means. And even Hitler himself, I'm going to show you some of the things. He clearly stated this symbol came from Japan or India, the sun symbol, in his first speech, actually. But that area we never talk about, and people do not pay attention. But it is the first speech of the ever did it, and when Hitler appeared with the first sign of the symbol of the the Nazi Germany symbol, he explained the long speech about hate, the supremacy, anti-Semitism type of things, and they explained. But then towards the end, and they talk about where does symbol come from, and which was how this was used. But that part is never be recognized also. And so there are many parts, and I can't even today talk about everything. It was kind of, for me, it was very interesting study. But also this is an interface symbol too. Probably you're talking about all the revision. Nowadays we're talking about interface, right? But this is the most interface symbol ever used in a human history. But never be able to use it, because right now, if we use it, even like I try to present some of the things for the Parliament of World Revision, what they say, that this was not accepted to be even the paper or a presentation, unless I have somebody with a Jewish person. And that itself is a little bit, for me, it's not correct. It's not right. And so, so therefore, I just wanted you to recommend to read mine first, because these are resources that I have from the East and West. But then of course, from the Buddhist perspective. So I very appreciate for the Hindu perspective today. And so anyhow, so these are temples image that I have. And then these are Buddha's pictures that you see. And I have more pictures and so forth in the from the interface aspects or Japanese aspects. So I just briefly showed. So at least today, everybody knows this, symbol is used in a many different cultures, many ways. And so, but that's important, because if you say, oh, this maybe in this country everything is no, but then in this country we have minority people, even including Native Americans. This is a symbol of the Native American for a long time. And then during the wartime, they have to give up this symbol because of this particular things. And then the Asian people, there are Hindus and Asian, or the many Asians, there's anti-Asian going on. But then that's Asia itself. This is one of the most important symbol in Asia. So how can you not to respect that? And then everything has to be black and white, or can be, or this will be used this way, but then there's also this meaning. So, there should be recognized both sides. Otherwise, you'll be pushing one way, like Indo-European central view. I mean, this is what happens in the history of the swastika too. But anyway, I've not talked about that, but rather let me just share some of the pictures before I go further. And but in any case, whatever the missing point that you missed, then please go to the, what do you call it, things that I did. Sorry, I can't see what I write. I don't know which one you see, but I hope you see okay for this. Do you see the book here now? I don't know.
I can see it.
It's a book's title, right? Okay. So this is, first of all, the title of the book, if you are interested in. And then I really, because I wrote this, I mean, this is not, dissertation kind of a thing. So that's why I try to be neutral as possible and then try to bring the information. So you can judge whatever the things. But the one thing is we need to have all those resources to show. And so these are some of the example of how the Buddhist well, actually, I see the Buddhist things. And then these, if you walk to the Kyoto, you see all those things all over the Japan here too. So even now, ancient place, you recognize. So anyway, so I just wanted to also mention about the quotes from the Buddhist texts, Buddhist sutras. So these are all used for the Buddhism too. And then anyway, also Arya, I mean, although we didn't talk about, we talk about swastika, but the words Aryan, Arya as the white supremacy Arya, but that's also Sanskrit, that which means noble. Nothing to do with a race. It's a nobleness. So this swastika is a noble symbol because of that. But then the Arya, the words Arya is also is a very important term that for Buddhism. And then because we call it Arya Sangha as a Buddha Dharma Sangha. And then those people, that the Buddha is the one who fully understand Arya, sacred or noble teaching. That's why he has the heart swastika on his heart. And so that from the swastika is a good luck symbol, and also show the different parts of the body. And from the chest of the Buddha is illuminate the light to embrace all. And so there's also how the chest of the swastika spread and then transform, and then the mean, and then what do you call it, embrace all, and like that. And then also that's the Buddha's mind as well. But let me go back to some pictures that I wanted to show. So this is the background that I have in Japan. And if it's in Kyoto, you see all those jizo, what we call, in Japanese, we call manji in Japanese. But man means 1,000, ji is a character. So 1,000 benefits, all the benefits of it. So, and is like a Chinese, the shrine, what do you call it, use of the swastika. I don't know whether you can see swastika design here or not. if you see closely, you can see probably. And these are like a Korea. I'm talking about Buddhism here, but so here all those temples and directions and so forth. It's a Tibetan. Tibet has also the Buddhist practice, and this is actually bone symbol too in a Tibetan culture. So it's a lot of symbol related to this is also very important for Tibetan people, and Vietnam. Yeah, you see all the different signs here, the Buddha's feet, and so forth. And then even like a Japanese American here in this country, 1930s, we use a lot, especially California, when they have Buddhist events, they use. But that was okay at that time, and so it is a history of that too in this country. And then since I'm going to talk a little bit about interface too, so this Native American, Native American team and the boxes that they make. And then these are ancient synagogue too. Before so in a way it's kind of sad. Now you cannot recognize the swastika. If they recognize swastika here, people say, "Why swastika is here?" This is a same symbol together with the manuba or whatever the symbol what you have, and then so sacred symbols are together. So which means this is a sacred symbol. That's why. Otherwise, why the symbol is here? But then some of the scholars didn't want to admit there is a swastika was used in the synagogue. And so there's a kind of whatever the views that we actually somehow misguided, or so there's the Jain. I'm not going to talk about Hindu because he did Ravi already covered well. And so that Christianity also used, of course, cross all over the place here, and then if you can see all those part of that, and the other, the native culture or religion also, even the one from Poland, the God is also used, and so there are many of those things that happen. So there's it's a map by where the swastika was found. It's actually all over the world, actually. So this is in a way, swastika is not just the one symbol, I don't think, but it is one of the symbol for common to the other human beings, and also used as a good meaning. Most of these are basically those are all good meaning of the swastika, never be used as an evil meaning. But now, of course, American, all those hate group using swastika as a bad meaning, more like a killing or hate and so forth. That's a totally opposite of the swastika, what they're doing. So they shouldn't be used that way either. So there are many parts that I just wanted to, mention it here. I know my time is out, right? So I have to stop. So I'll just stop here. But again, please, you can go to the Google, what do you call it, the Amazon, and then you can just read it for free for the many parts of this book too. So you can just read it, and then at least you can get the introduction part, so you can get the other sense. But maybe just the one quote that I wanted to finish with was as I mentioned, that Hitler also used this symbol. This is a main part, right? So if you see the German language, he never used a swastika here. This is the Mein Kampf, the main parts of how he explained the Hook Cross, or swastika, what the American people call, but then in Hakenkreuz. So these are words. So I just translate it as a Hooked Cross. This is normally seen as a swastika. And then all those anti-Semitism part you can see. So that's the one. Also, there is and Hooked Cross. This is also from the speech that I wanted to mention a little bit. This is a wrong one. I think I got the wrong quotes here. I don't know, what did I do? Maybe I miscopy from the one. I wasn't planning to make copies from that one. So maybe sorry. Maybe at some other time. This is kind of a quotes from the hooked cross related to the cross of the Lord. So this is a Christian movement, nothing to do with the Buddhist or Hindu movement. Hitler tried to put it together for the Catholic and then Protestant together, and then against something together for their country. And then so then how they did it was everybody become together, but then the Jewish people become kind of victim that way. Like the same way as a Japanese American or become enemy of the countries and so forth. So that's the same thing happens. But anyway, but this is very important. I think the Hindu Jewish Leadership Summit. This is the last statement, I believe, to be known. Swastika is an ancient and greatly auspicious symbol of the Hindu tradition. It is inscribed on Hindu temples, ritual altar, entrance, and even account books. A distorted vision of the sacred symbol was misappropriated by the Third Reich in Germany and abused as the emblem under which heinous crimes were perpetuated against humanity, particularly the Jewish people. The participants recognize that this symbol is and has been sacred for Hindu for millennia, for long before the misappropriation. And so this was a statement together for the Hindu leaders and then the Jewish leaders. So I think it will be respected and continue for the educational like this. So I really appreciate the organizer today to do this kind of wonderful gathering. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much. And thank you. That's it.
Well, thank you very much to our experts here today. We really lucked out on getting the really just the world-renowned expertise to join this call. And I do hope that we can continue to have future calls along other interfaith topics. There are a few questions from the audience, and I know that we're running out of time, so I'll try to get a few of them in now. And one question was around the actual symbol being turned to the right as opposed to the left. And we know that Hitler was a proclaimed artist, and he became fascinated with it as well as a form of a disassembled Star of David. And there was also another question, so I'll combine those two. So I wanted to know if you want to comment on the distorted version and what do you think that meant? Does it have meaning? And there's another question regarding the Star of David, which I'm happy to wear mine that I purchased in Jerusalem a few years ago today. Is there also some significance of the Star of David in Hinduism? That was a question from the audience.
If I can answer a few of that, you see, as TK said, one of the things is swastika. In Hitler called it as a hook cross. In Hinduism, it says a hook cross. Like I said, the meaning for word and meaning for the symbol, and it gives narration. And the hook cross is called as, in Sanskrit, is called as ankusham. In a hand symbol, it is shown like this. Okay, you can see the thumb straight and index finger bent, which is called as a hook cross. This is called as ankusham in Sanskrit. So this is what you, and the rule for ankusham is it need not be 45 degree. Sorry, it need not be 90 degree. The intersection of line, it could be 45, it could be 30, like that. So maybe that's a reason why the Hitler that symbol is little tilted instead of, at 90 degrees. It was tilted 45 degrees towards left. That could be, I'm just assuming. I'm not an expert in their side, or number one. Number two, I also said the word used, part of word like swastika, asti. The opposite word for asti is naha asti. It's called as nasti. Maybe like if I say how nasty is it? The word nasty, as the root word for that is naha asti. That is why it has become nasty in English. And the naha plus asti can also be termed as a Nazi. So there are this kind of connection. I don't want to tell this because I'm not an expert in the others' faith. I can talk only about my faith. The second question, one of the questions you asked is about it is like a mirror image, this side and that side. See, the rule is the swastika should be, all lines should be in right angle, which is at 90 degree. You use most of the Hindus use it towards clockwise and Buddhists use on the anti-clockwise, there's nothing wrong. Even Hindus also textbook says it can be used on the other side, especially for Devis. For the women, for the goddesses, it is also used other side. Whether using it like a clockwise or anti-clockwise does not really matter. But the practice, most of the Hindus practice in the clockwise and most of the Buddhists practice in the anti-clockwise, but both mean same. There's no difference in this. Okay. And I think maybe others can answer other questions.
Well, Hitler's use of the swastika was not spiritual.
Yes.
It was ideological, and he was trying to offset the hammer and sickle, because that was the major conflict of his time, the communists against the nationalists against the Nazis, who were coming up as the nationalist party. Prior to Hitler, the swastika was found by Heinrich Schliemann, the archaeologist in the city of Troy. Out of that came a popular movement that saw the swastika as having great symbolic meaning, not necessarily spiritual meaning, but symbolic meaning. And it was adopted by these nationalist and racialist groups. Apparently, Hitler saw the swastika for the first time at the Abbey of Lembeck, where a group of renegade Catholics were figuring out a way to regain power, racial nationalist power in Germany. So I think what Hitler ultimately did was looked at it visually. As you said, he was an artist. He wasn't an acclaimed artist. He never got into the Kunstgewerbeschule. He was a failed artist. And it's even said, had he become an artist, we would never have had the Holocaust if he was accepted into the school. But he was able to see relationships of form and color and make symbolic connections to those things. And the angle of the swastika is much more powerful than the square of the swastika.
Yeah. Hitler never mentioned, I don't know, I'm still looking for why Hitler's swastika is a 45 degree, but there are some explanation, but it doesn't look like Hitler himself said why this is a 45 degree. And so that part I'm not too sure, but the one that I know is, sorry, but I just found the one that, what do you call it, the scripture that I supposed I was going to put it, but so let me just share, but this is a knowledge that he had. So at least, so you should know, I don't know whether you see this or not, but according to speak, so you can see how much of the knowledge he knows about the symbol is this really for the first part of the, we know that all these northern people had one symbol in common, the symbol of the sun, the created cults of light, and they will be created the symbol of the tools for making fire, the drill and cross. So you will find this cross as the Hakenkreuz, or normally translated here as a swastika, but he said Hakenkreuz. As far as India and Japan, carved in temple pillars. So it is Hakenkreuz, which was once a sign of established community of Aryan culture, but this particular Aryan culture is already misread. This is there's an Aryan theory of the language theory, so that's the Aryan, but this is not Aryan of the India Aryan. So that particular part he doesn't have Hitler didn't understand what Aryan, the Sanskrit means. So, but this is the first speech, as I said here. You take a look. So, thank you.
I think what I'll do, there's probably time just for one more question. And I'll probably just try to combine the two into one. And then we'll pass it on to our CEO, Rabbi Miller, for the closing. So based on today's conversation, we want to know if the symbol is essential to Hinduism and Buddhism. And if it is, is there a way that we can be presented in a way that recognizes and renounces its misuse as a symbol of hate? Another question, which I think we've covered a little bit, but if you'd like to answer this at the same time, is that are there other examples perhaps that we could look to that were either a neutral or religious symbol that was misappropriated by another group and came to represent something evil or negative? And perhaps how did they handle that?
I'd like to jump in and just
Thank
say
you.
the cross is a symbol that has always been problematic. The cross was adopted by the Ku Klux Klan. The cross was used by the Crusaders. I mean, go through history. The cross was an execution device. The upside down cross had problems. It was co-opted by the followers of Christ to represent martyrdom. So there was a positive aspect to that. But if you look at the world's leading symbols, you'll see that there are often more than one meaning. And that is the problem we face today. We have to decide whether to allow for multiple meanings or whether we take a stand because symbolically there's not much else to grab onto once generations that witnessed these things pass away into the dust.
Yeah, I also feel it's important to be able to recognize both. I mean, you know, historically, I don't know, that's after 75th year, I mean, 75 years of the World War II, everything. So the time is just going the different ways now. And then we are meeting all people together all over the place. And swastika is nothing wrong with in a way for the East at all. I mean, as if you need to redeem, but this is nothing redemption because we're using it anyway. So for the symbol for a long time. And then plus, as I show it, Hitler took it. I mean, they just steal it. And then from the Eastern culture to adapted their Western part. Then why you can't return to the East? I mean, that was too simple maybe because of the history that happens. So at least to be able to recognize these are originally symbol, the good meaning of it, then they just use it in the wrong way or something. But then just the understanding itself should have more discussion or dialogue so that people can understand because they don't have to, because a lot of people travel to Asia and you see the symbol of swastika and what they say is, oh, this is a evil person, they shouldn't use it. But this happened in a newspaper, newsletter, news article, because when some people went to the Tibetan jewelry store, they found a small swastika, accessory. And then they say, oh, these are hate symbol. You shouldn't use it. Or, how dare you can use this kind of symbol for here. And then do you understand what this symbol means? And then my question is the people who really said, do you understand the symbol means I wanted to ask you the same question to other way. Because in this country, definitely very, very ignorant about the symbol itself, about the Eastern symbol, especially. And so how can you say that's the evil? And then plus, cross is an anti-Semitism symbol for a long time, like a crusade. And so that's, I just wanted to mention the crusade is one of the area that killed a lot of other than Christianity, people. And so those are part of the history together for 2,000 years. And then the Hitler is only one part of it. It's the long history that Europe has a lot to do with this particular symbol. So anyway, so that's why I think it's very important to just recognize at least both. Good side and bad side, and you have a dialogues and so forth. Where does this symbol goes, we never know. We can't control, we may control something, but if you try to control, you create a lot of problem. So, why not to be open to the, all what it means for these symbols in the East and West, and then we just simply just as a symbol, and treat it, and then so people know what this symbol means, then how they can react is something. So the bias itself for me is a problematic.
Yeah. For me, I'm most happy to concede that all faiths are seeking in their own way and fashion to understand their respective revelations which everyone considers as final and irrevocable, which I also agree. So what I feel is we should, wherever the thing arises like this, when there is a commonly used signs and symbols and words, we have to involve every faith, whoever is either benefited or affected, or whoever uses, or whoever talks about it. We have to bring frequent meetings among all the faith who are connected to those signs and symbols and words and meanings and interpretation on influencing, all whatever you call it as. If there is a common factor, I think we should keep meeting regularly and talk with each other and understand and respect each other. And then I think we can definitely come to a proper conclusion. I'm not against anybody. I don't want others to be against me also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Michael Miller. I'm the CEO of the JCRC. And the first thing that I want to do in closing this extraordinary program is to offer a number of thanks. First, I want to thank our superb moderator, Rhonda Binda, for the outstanding work that she did with a very complex issue, but she handled it expertly. Of course, to Cheryl Fishbein for opening, for Rabbi Lisa, for our wonderful presenters, each one of them from their perspective, which really enlightened us, which expanded our knowledge of this symbol, but also of each other, to Steve, to Ravi, and to TK. And I also want to thank the people behind the scenes, particularly Noam Gilboard, our Chief Operating Officer and Director of Israel International Affairs, and Jennifer Glick, who's been handling the technology for this presentation. And in closing, I want to share some thoughts with you. I recall a statement made by an 18th century Hasidic rabbi who said that each and every symbol is a world unto itself. And we know that the world of the swastika is filled with complexity and contradictions. As Cheryl said at the outset, symbols can have multiples of meanings and can mean different things to different peoples. But when the rabbi said that each symbol is a world unto itself, we also know that the world is a circle. The world is not a square. The world is not rectangular. It's circular. And as such, within that circle, whatever is east becomes west, whatever is west becomes east. And what is essential is that we communicate with each other. And today, I just sense that we've had a merger, a coming together, a marriage of sorts of the Jewish faith and other faiths, Eastern faiths, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism, all focused in on one symbol, which means different things to different peoples. It's not that we in the Jewish community are not going to recognize the swastika as a symbol of hate, but we do now know with much greater knowledge, and the same thing with regard to those of Hindu and Buddhist tradition who are on this call as well, that their symbol of peace is also a symbol of hate. Our knowledge of this symbol has truly expanded, so that when we approach someone of a different faith, we have a better understanding of what this symbol might mean to them, that each and every symbol is a world unto itself. And having these discussions, as TK was saying, and having this dialogue is key to ensuring three words, same word in three different languages: shalom, shanti, and peace. And let's hope that we step away from this just incredible event that we just went through these past 90 minutes with those thoughts in mind, with that spirit of shalom, of shanti, and of peace, and that we continue to ensure that the discussion, the dialogue, the partnership between JCRC and Sa Voice, the partnership between the Jewish community and the communities that emanated from the other side of the globe are circular and not rectangular. Thank you all very much. I appreciate, on behalf of JCRC and speaking for Rhonda, on behalf of Savoy's, for everybody participating. And we look forward to seeing you again at another such program where we're able to bring global cultures together. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.